like some have called him the biggest villain, some have called him the biggest asshole. I personally love the guy and what he did on the season. I would like to welcome to the show Jordan, aka Big J, to the Love and Reality podcast from the Circle Season 6. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm really good. Thanks for having me. I can't wait to talk more about my game and clear up some missing context that was definitely not there.
Yeah, we talked a little bit off the air. We talked a little bit on Instagram. We talked a little bit
Yeah.
just conversating because we early in mid-season when you made your splash, everybody was really hectic and crazy, and we'll dive more into it. But it's kind of crazy to see that backlash the way that it was, and see and not see the strategy. You know what I mean, right?
Right.
That was that kind of. We'll start there, but we'll kind of go rewind a little bit in a second. But was it kind of shocking how fast the world kind of like flipped you upside down?
I wouldn't say it was shocking. Like, I definitely knew when I was playing the game, the type of game I was playing, that there would be hate, but I just wasn't expecting some of like the lack of context. Like, whenever the first drops I was in, I went on Twitter and I saw all this hate and I was like, what is happening? And then when I watched the show, I was like, oh, I fucking hate me too. Like 100%, I get where people are coming from. So there was just
Exactly.
a lot of like missing pieces, which it's reality TV. Like, what do you expect? You know what I mean?
For sure, for sure. All right, let's rewind a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and maybe something we didn't find out about you on the show.
Ooh, something you didn't find out about me. Well, my name's Jordan, obviously. Whenever I was 18, I decided that I was tired of living the life that I was living, and I went on this like huge weight loss journey that really just like shaped my life. It shaped my confidence, my personality, and it was just something that I felt I needed to do for myself specifically. I know it's not the journey for everyone, but for me, it was something I needed to do. And throughout all that time, one thing that really helped push me forward was like reality TV. Like, a lot of people don't know this, but I lost a lot of my weight because I wanted to do Big Brother. And I was like, how am I going to do Big Brother, hang on these like walls and like fight for my life with like the weight I was at? And that was like my biggest motivation for losing weight. So it's honestly really full circle, no pun intended, that my dream came true, and that's kind of like what started the whole journey for me.
Yeah, it's incredible. So it's funny, I didn't know before that you were a Big Brother fan. Somebody had commented on like the YouTube video that I had made, and they're like, "Hey, Jordan's a Big Brother fan." They're like, his strategy
100%.
makes plenty of sense. I'm like, yes, it does now. Like, it makes even more sense than it already did. So, Big Brother, who are some of your favorites from the Big Brother world?
Oh my God, like Dan Giesling. It's so funny because in the circle, I was trying to do my own version of Dan's funeral. And at one point, they were telling me, they're like, oh, you should put Big J's funeral on like your marquee. And I was like, oh, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. Are you kidding me? The fans will drag me. Got dragged anyways, but I'm sure it would have been worse if I did that. I love Janelle. I mean, Janelle's not always the best game player, but I just love how like fierce she is. Like, she always just played like straightforward. And I love that. Who else are my favorites? I don't know. Dan's the one that always comes to mind, and I know that's so like cliche, but I just loved his game in 10, 100%.
All right, let's talk about applying for the show. Obviously, we know what made you want to go into the circle, but what kind of made you finally pull the trigger and be like, all right, I'm going to apply?
Yeah, so in 2021, I believe it was for seasons 4 and 5, I applied and I got super far into the process. Like, past finals, about to be on the show, didn't get on. And that crushed me. I was like, oh, I was so close. So this time around, when I saw they were casting again, because I had thought the show was done. Like, we all saw on Twitter that they were getting rid of the apartments in Manchester and stuff. So whenever the show came back, I was like, oh, this is my time 100%. And this time it worked out. Thank God.
All right, so we get through the process. What was it like getting the call, the call up, I guess you could say, that
Right.
you were going to be on the show?
Well, the thing about the circle is you don't know you're on the show until you are on the show. Like, once we got out to Atlanta, it's like you film your intro package, and then even after you film your intro package, you're not sure if you're on until like 5 minutes before you walk into your like apartment. And they always tell you like, you're not on yet, you're not on yet. So once I found out I was going into the apartment, it literally felt like I was like going into the Hunger Games. Like, I had like my handler with me, like counting me down from 5, and I'm like, this is the Hunger Games right now. And it was just like a pure adrenaline rush. Like, I blacked out when I walked into the apartment because we're in this like dark hallway, and then you walk in and it's just bright lights and camera. It's literally like you just walked into your TV. It's bizarre. It's the most insane feeling.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about it on the show about why you decided to play as Big J instead of yourself.
Right.
But before that, before what we see on the TV, Talk to me about that strategy.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just a huge fan of like Big Brother, Survivor, all these games. And I've also seen in the circle where like when all you're seeing is like a little photo and some words on a screen, there's so many rooms for error because everyone's kind of interpreting that in their own ways. And as a photographer, like if you look at my Instagram, my photos are douchey. I'm self-aware about it. And I was like, if I go into the circle with those photos, I just felt like there was more room for error versus if I go in using my old photos, playing strategically the way I was being cutthroat, I felt like it was an easier way to disguise my strategy. And it worked until it didn't anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest with you, and this is me being trans, like when I saw pictures of Myles at first, I was like, this guy is a douchebag. And
Yeah.
obviously, like, you watch him and I mean, it's interesting to hear that strategy because you're not wrong. I mean, I love that you're self-aware though. I mean, that's the big thing that I think people have like lost sight of this entire
Yeah.
time is you're very self-aware of who you are and what you
Right.
are and what you did. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
hello. All right. So obviously you come in a little bit late into the game.
Mm-hmm.
When that happens, does that change your entire strategy?
Oh, 100%. Like my initial strategy going into the circle was always like I was gonna form these like core bonds, and then later on is when I was gonna start being messy and like pitting people against each other, right? But when you come in the middle, it's a completely different game. You don't have time to waste your chats on like getting to know people, or you're just gonna fade into the background and get booted. Like so going in the middle, my whole strategy was I need to get information and figure out how to dismantle the alliances that are already there. That way I can find a way to like shift myself in like into a position of power. The middle game, it's a completely different game. And I think that's something people don't fully understand.
Yeah, because you have catching up to do, right? You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like you're
100%.
so far behind. Everybody's already got alliances, they're already built, there are already so many different things going on. And as you stated on the show and various times on social media and stuff like that, Myles was the core guy. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like Myles had pieces of the puzzle everywhere, especially like with the addition of the ride or die.
Mm-hmm.
What was that kind of like finding out your fate could be tied with your ride or die, especially after finding out QT was your ride or die?
Oh, when I found out it was QT, I was so psyched because like it's not shown a lot. Like, yes, I was coming from Myles, but I was always aware that QT was my biggest threat. I said it multiple times. Like in my first rating in the circle, I put Myles in fourth and I put QT first, right? And I think a lot of people thought that, oh, I was trying to get Myles out immediately. That's not at all what I was trying to do. I had already talked to Myles. I kind of knew how he was playing the game a little bit. And since I was safe in the blocking, I wanted someone that I hadn't talked to be in power so I can see how they would play the game. And QT did exactly what I thought she would do. She was playing it safe, riding the middle exactly as she should, and that's a dangerous player. So whenever I found out I was paired with QT, it was like a double like edged sword because at the same time I'm wanting her out, right? But as a newbie, I'm now paired with the person that's the most liked in the circle.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like you were the new guy, so you're automatically kind of at the bottom of the barrel because like, well, we
Right.
don't know him, so he's there. But then it's
Yeah.
like you have QT kind of quietly like volleying for you out of nowhere because she knew that your situations were tied together. Now that follows the question. Obviously, you weren't put in the predicament, but Caress, aka Paul, aka Caress, and Kyle were put in this predicament. I've got to know. I'm going to put you on the hot seat.
Okay.
If you and QT would have been eliminated, would you have sacrificed yourself for QT?
Absolutely not. I'm not sacrificing myself. No way in hell. Like this is my like dream. Like even if I'm at the bottom, right, I'm gonna go out fighting. I'm not gonna give up. And props to Caress. Like she has a great heart for doing that. But me personally, absolutely not. I would have fought until the game was done. No way.
Yeah, there's no way in hell. Like, there's just no. I mean, again, applaud Caress for what she did, but there's no
100%.
way in hell. Like, they're just
No.
obviously not happening.
No.
Take us behind your strategy because obviously a lot of what you do and a lot of what we see and a lot of talking to you, there's strategy in almost everything you did in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So your rankings throughout the series, not the final ones, but throughout the series, kind of what was your strategy there?
Yeah, so my strategy wasn't always to rate my allies high. It was always about how can I manipulate the ratings a bit to get myself higher in the ratings, right? So even if you were my number one ally, if you were in power a lot, if I thought you were going to be high in the ratings, I was trying to drag you down a little bit. Now, obviously, like the people I was against, I wasn't going to put them high in the ratings because I didn't want them to be in power. But anything I could kind of do to shift the ratings to allow me to rise up a little bit, that's what I was doing. And I don't know if it worked out right at all because I only saw one rating I was in, and that was when I was in sixth. All the other ratings that I was a part of were like anonymous ratings because we had the ride or die, and then we had the super secret influencer. So I don't even know if that worked out at all.
Speaking of the entire ride or die situation, we had one of the most explosive, if not probably the best scene of the entire show. It was a incredible strategy from you. I personally feel like, this is my personal opinion, I feel like this is where QT lost the game as well at the same time, in one aspect of not listening to you because you were a game player. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, you were fighting for your life in some aspects, but take us behind this entire scene of what maybe we don't see and kind of what was going through your head as this entire thing is unfolding.
Oh, 100%. I mean, going into that, the way I was playing the game was like, I wasn't trying to get to the next episode. I didn't care about screen time. I was trying to win, right? And going into this influencer chat, I figured we probably only had like one more blocking. So I was like, if this ruins my game, that's fine, right? And going into it, I assumed we had to come to an agreement just because this is like never happened before. There's not like a rule book in Big Brother where you can like read everything, right? So going into that, I definitely had a little bit of delusion, thinking I could take out QT. I mean, thinking I could get QT to take out Myles, and I should have done a couple things differently, and maybe it would have swayed stuff a little bit. But I just went in there fighting. Like we were in there for like 3 hours. It's so much longer than was showed. Obviously, they're not gonna fucking put 3 episodes of an influencer chat, right? But no. So we had walked through Myles. Obviously, that was off the table. So I was like, okay, let's try Kyle. Let me see if I can convince her that Kyle will weaken Myles's game, which would help her out. That didn't work out. And then we talked about Olivia for a long time. And one thing I told QT here was like, QT, you have too much power right now. A little bit of blood on your hands is not going to hurt your game. Like, it might even help your game. I don't know if that would have been like inherently true, but that's definitely what I was trying to portray. And obviously I wasn't going to let Lauren or Autumn go because even though I hadn't talked to Lauren, right, I felt like she was someone I was easily going to naturally connect with. I also knew that like a lot of people didn't like her. So she needed someone, and I was going to try to be that one person. That way I could be behind her ratings. Autumn didn't have anyone. I was the only person Autumn had. So I was like, I need both of them here. Olivia had her hands in every basket. She was just so nice. So that's why I was going for Olivia. And I wish they would have showed more of that because I felt like that would have even helped Brandon's arc a little bit, like how powerful of a player he really was. And once QT left the chat, I mean, you see it in my face. I am shocked. Like, I don't know what's happening. This has never happened before. I'm just, what? And it's so funny to watch back when I'm yelling like Bootsmado, 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 because I was so angry. Like, I was cringing watching that because I'm just so angry and it's so unserious at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that I talked to Olivia, aka Brandon, yesterday, and I was like, one of the things I wish I would have saw, because I did my own influencer rankings at the end of each episode. And I was like, I wish I would have saw more of that gameplay. And he revealed some of the stuff that we don't see, that he was like, yeah, I did play the game more than what you see. You know what I mean? Because it's like
100%.
in some ways you can look at it like, oh, well, he just niced his way to the finale until, of course, what he did to Myles. But all right, the influence that chat happens, she shuts it down. Obviously, Autumn's eliminated, which I thought was just a safe move. It was a very safe move. And you even kind of insinuated that, right?
100%. And I feel like that, like QT had been playing the safe game, which I feel like in the circle, that is the best game, is like riding the middle. But I felt like when we were at that point, because she had been playing such a safe game and she had been at the top too much, I still feel like it was probably the best move for her at that point in time. But I do wonder if it would have helped her if she had a little bit of blood on her hands at that point. Like I just have to wonder.
I think you have to pull the trigger on Olivia, in my opinion, because I do think like Kyle and Myles, they were off the table completely, which
100%.
Understandably, I get that. Tres Fuegos, that whole entire thing. So you need the numbers going into the fight. But I still think Olivia, if you eliminate Olivia, you can reel Kyle back in. You can explain to him, hey, he's a game player, period. You know what I mean? That's it. But my question to follow up that is, this is not where you stopped. And I love this. You went full blast into the chat. You announced that QT was the winner of the circle. Take us behind keeping the pedal to the metal.
100%. And they didn't show a lot of this. And I had this full-blown strategy. Like in the show, it looks like I'm just angry and calling everyone out. But let's walk through it. So My whole plan after I had spilled out my entire game to QT was like, okay, she knows my entire game. She knows I'm gaming hard, and she's gonna go tell Kyle and Myles. So here was my plan. Step one was I wanted to get ahead of QT and call out QT and Myles. QT wasn't my target at that point. I had learned that there was no way I was going to take her out, but I wanted to hurt her name a little bit going into finale. Myles, I just needed him out. Like I felt like he was the only one out of the trio I could get out, right? So I figured if I called both of them out, Kyle, Lauren, and Olivia will think that they are safe with me. That was kind of the whole thing. Like, let me put my cards on the table. I was also trying to make myself like the biggest target. That way people would drag me to finale thinking I had no shot at winning, right? And my whole strategy with that is if enough people rate me high thinking I had no shot at winning, I could secure the win. Because at that point it was like, how else am I going to win? Like trying to like play the middle was not going to work anymore. QT was about to blow up my game. There was nothing I could do about it. And I felt like in that time, that was the best thing I could have done for my game. And it did work out. Did I get the win? Absolutely not. But I did get to the end like I was wanting to.
Yeah, I mean, it did work exactly because I do think that it put enough doubt in Brandon's mind, Olivia, Brandon's mind, that it was like, okay, I need to break this up. Because at the end of the day, if you get eliminated with the super secret influencer, Brandon doesn't win. Period. End of story.
Right.
Like, I don't think he wins. I don't think he does because I don't believe that, you have three of the five people are part of the same faction. Now, obviously, the conversation is, does QT really rank Kyle and Myles, or Myles really that high? Which
100%.
is something we don't know because he wasn't there. But the whole entire thing is Jordan hates Myles.
Right.
That's the narrative spun around the world. And I think obviously when you watch the show, physically watch the show, you could see why people would take that.
Oh, 100%.
Now, your battle towards Myles was all strategy, right?
100%. 100%. Even that scene where I'm yelling like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. I'm not yelling I hate you to Myles, right? I'm yelling I hate you to this character I've created in my head of Myles, in the sense that like every time I would try to take a shot at him, it would never work out. And even in that game, I even say like, I can't be mad. He answered this so well. So I was just mad that like he was doing everything so perfect. And I said it multiple times in like the show that like QT was my biggest target. I said it when we were Ride or Dies. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like she's been my biggest target. When Autumn came to see me, I was like, QT's my biggest target, but I've been forced to work with her. So Myles was the only option for me, right? And Kyle, I mean, hindsight's 2020. I was trying to work with the dude. I didn't know he didn't like me because I didn't choose his chat on day one. You know what I mean? So in my mind, Myles was the only option for me to like dismantle what was already existing.
Yeah, for sure. And as the block of Myles happens, what's going through your head?
Oh, I'm just so psyched, right? Can you imagine how awful it would have been as like a huge reality TV fan to be gunning for this guy the entire time and then I get blocked and I did nothing in the game? Like I was just happy something finally worked out, because going into the end with those three, I mean, I wouldn't have gotten there if Brandon didn't block Myles. But if I did end up, like, there was no shot at winning. And like I didn't care about making it to the end if I had no shot at winning. I didn't care about making it to the next episode. I just wanted to win.
To be honest with you, I did the math. Obviously, I spent time doing the math because all of you, less QT, revealed who they voted for in the final rankings, right? You know what I mean? Obviously, we saw yours was Lauren, Brandon, Kyle, QT.
Right.
Was your final four. And then, of course, everybody went through theirs. Lawrence was Jordan, Olivia, or you, Olivia, QT, Kyle. Brandon's were QT, Kyle, Lauren, you, and then Olivia, QT, Lauren, Jordan. The crazy thing about this is when I added it all up, because you couldn't do QTs. QT, you knew Kyle was first. So you had to do the math on who was 2, 3, 4. I did the math. It came out to, I think it was like Kyle, you. It was Kyle, you, Olivia, Lauren, I think is how she had it rated. Maybe you're flip-flop. But like, do you realize how close you were to winning?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Like it's
honestly, at finale, I'm glad I went out in fourth, because if I would have gone out in second, like my hopes would have been so high and it would have been so much more crushing. Like it's easier to go out early and watch the rest like go down and my like hopes be stripped that quick than like it builds up more and more and more. Like I didn't care about second. So fourth, Jesus help me. Like at least I can get it off my mind.
All right. So what has it been like watching the show back?
I mean, is there missing context? Sure. But like I had so much fun watching me, honestly. Like I'm just a fan of these shows at the end of the day. And being there, I was like, if this is the season I'm on, I don't want it to be boring, right? And I wasn't being performative for TV. I was just self-aware to be like, okay, I'm watching myself. How would I want to see myself play? Because in like these reality shows, I love the villains, right? Like I don't like the villains that are like actually mean people, but I love like villainous gameplay. It's so entertaining for me. So watching it back, I was having fun watching myself, even with the missing context, right? But I didn't regret anything I did in the game, honestly.
Was there a scene that they didn't show that you would have liked to be shown?
Oh, good question. Um, I would have loved for them to show like a little bit more of my context of why I was coming from Myles originally. And I would have loved for them to show like my whole end game strategy because I feel like it was so like nuanced and it was kind of the opposite of the way the circle's supposed to be played, right? Because the circle is a popularity contest, and I was trying to do the exact opposite of it.
Exactly. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and I took to Instagram and got some questions. Some of these are going to be funny. Some of these are going to be
Okay.
fun. The first one, actually, I really like this one a lot. You talked a little bit about it, but a good friend of the show here, reality TV underscore fan, he asked, how do you think your game would have been different if you entered day one?
Oh, I mean, I would have spent so much time just like connecting with people, like, and just like really letting them get to know me so you can form those core bonds. And then later in the game, I would have like kind of like analyzed who's the threat here and like backstabbed them. It wouldn't have been so gun ho from the beginning. Do I think that like my game would have been the same? Probably, but it kind of would have been more of a QT style game where it was more behind the scenes instead of like straightforward.
All right. Love It Leah says, how do you deal with all of the hate from the fan base? And she said, loved your gameplay, by the way, and you're so kind.
Thank you so much. I at first it was really jarring because like in my real life, I don't have like I've never met anyone that didn't like me. And I'm not even trying to be like, but it's just like the truth. So going on social media and seeing all this like very like tense hatred for me was jarring week one. But then it became funny, right? And it's like if you're gonna talk shit about me, do it in my comments, please. Like help boost like my engagement. So most of it's been funny because some people are really out of pocket, especially in like my DMs, the paragraphs. I'm like, girl, you need a life because how did you just spend all of that time typing that to me? Like, go off, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, keep commenting, please. Like I
Yeah.
say all the time, if you hate something I make, just comment on it. You know what I mean? Like, it just boosts
Or
that
like
algorithm.
the hate TikToks. I'm like, you got too much time on your hands. Where is your job?
It's so funny. Audrey, AK, she's ODDREM on Instagram. Is it painful carrying the season on your shoulders? It seems heavy.
Oh my God, Audrey. That's actually Audrey from Big Brother. She's a good friend of mine. Um, it is painful, Audrey. You know, it's just so much weight on my shoulders. No, I'm kidding. But I feel like us as a cast, honestly, we like had a really good season. Like, I feel like we're definitely one of the top circle seasons. And I'm not even just saying that because I was there, but I feel like we really brought the entertainment at the end of the day. Was it messy? Absolutely. But it was a lot of fun to watch.
MG Bosman02 asks, why did he want Myles out and when Myles did nothing to him?
See, it doesn't matter if Myles did nothing to me, right? Like at the end of the day, I think people forget that when I'm in the apartment, I'm not seeing Myles in his other room interact, his mannerisms, the way he's playing the game. In my head, I see Myles as an AI engineer. Oh, that's a super smart guy, right? And in our chat day one, his first message was something like, "Oh, let's talk about this like hot goss and Kiki da 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 da." And then there was another message that wasn't in the show that was like, "Oh, you're a photographer. Hopefully, you can make me look good." And then the conversation got really broy. So, not knowing Myles, who Myles really is, like he's a genuine guy. But in my head, I'm reading this like, "Oh, this is manipulation." Like I just saw him trying to manipulate me and reel me in. Not only that, he had told me this wasn't in the show that there was an issue with Cassie. Like he had gotten into a fight with Cassie, and I'm like, okay, he had just told me he was in power. Like hindsight's 2020 was most human, but like you can't expect that. I know that Myles was just in power and he was an influential player. And I also know he has an issue with Cassie in this game. That's a fracture I can turn into a complete break. So that's where it started from. It was never personal. It was like, how do I get myself into a good standing in this game?
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and somebody commented, how does it feel to be the biggest gamer and work your way into the final after being kind of last in a lot of the vote rankings?
Oh, I mean, at the end of the day, I only cared about winning when I was there, right? But like at like the way I played the game, I'm glad that I got to finale. Like there, I didn't care about making it to finale if I wasn't gonna win. But no, I'm very happy I made it to the end because at least I feel like my gameplay accomplished something.
For sure. Let's see here. Can you go on House of Villains? They tape in Los Angeles.
Oh my God, I would love to. Are you kidding me? I would love to. I love that show. It's so entertaining. So
Yeah.
entertaining. Now, if there's someone like Tiffany Pollard there, like, am I gonna buck up to her? Probably. Like, if she talks a little shit to me, but like, I would be fangirling too hard if like someone that crazy was there. I would love to.
Would you be in another reality TV show? If so, which one?
Oh, I think the Traders is like bucket list, right? And I know they're casting like A-list people, but maybe like Traders 42 I'll get on. But Traders, I feel like I would love to do an in-person game. I feel like that would really be my bread and butter, where like mannerisms count, body language counts. Like there's not as much room for interpretation like there is in the circle. And I feel like I would really excel in an environment like that.
With season 7 already shot, I love the idea of making season 8 the redemption season of the circle, like bringing back all the people that might not have won. Would you come back for another run?
Oh, 100%. And I hope they renew it again because I do feel like season 6 will kind of shape the way future seasons are played. And I think it would be really fun if there's like an all-star season where everyone is like catfishing as a previous player. I think that'd be so
Oh,
fun to watch.
that's actually phenomenal. I think that'd be awesome. That
That would
would
be
be
so cool to watch.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely agree. What's something that you learned about Jordan yourself in your time on the circle?
You know, one thing that always has been consistent in my life is that anytime my back is against the wall, I always push forward and I never give up. Like whether it was my weight loss, whether it was like me in the circle, like after my like chat with QT, every time a door closes on me, I always find another route. And I think the circle truly like showed myself that.
What's the biggest misconception about Jordan?
Oh God. I mean, that I'm just like this awful person in real life. Like, baby, it's a game and I was playing the game. Was I playing a villainous game? Absolutely. But it's a game and it's also reality TV. Like, reality TV is not reality.
For sure, for sure. All right, what's next for Jordan?
What's next for me? I mean, right now, I really want to get out to LA. Like, I really want to move to LA. My end goal one day is to like work in like casting and TV production. That's always been something I'm passionate about. But I do want to wait and see if like I get a call for another show. But right now, yeah, I'm just kind of just riding this wave out, like living the dream that I've always wanted to live. And just waiting to see what's next. Hopefully more opportunities come out of it.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things I've learned about you is I love seeing people passionate about reality TV end up accomplishing what you really want. You know, it's so much
Yeah.
fun to watch, and that's one of my things. I would love just to be on a reality show. A, just to say I've done it, but B, it's like
Right.
we spent I'm old, but like 15, 20 years watching reality TV.
Right.
And it's like, man, just one time you want to get in there and just put the boots on and do it. So, Jordan, thank you so much for your time today. It has been an
For having
absolute
me.
pleasure chatting with you. Netflix, please, Netflix, anybody, put this man on another show.
Call me.
Call this man because he deserves another show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.